Welcome to Classically Minded. I'm your host, Garrett John Law, and today I'm joined by bassoonist Ian Morin. Ian is active as a performer across the state of Ohio and serves as professor of bassoon at Cleveland State University. So welcome, Ian.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you for asking me to do this.
So I want to get right to it. There was a point in the pandemic where you were considering, your future in music and what it's going to look like. Given that you are a conservatory trained musician, what led you to that point?
Yeah, it was rough. I mean, just like a lot of us, we tend to go through a lot of failed auditions in the beginning, right? And right before pandemic, I was in a stretch of those. I was in a stretch of already kind of things. Not that I was failing auditions, but I wasn't winning auditions, and that was getting to me. And then around January time, there was a huge push for just okay, I can do this. I need to do this. And I started taking more auditions. I was doing well, and I was, being more positive about things in my life. And then the pandemic hit, and it shut down all the other auditions I was gonna do, so it stopped my momentum. I was in a really high place after being in a very dark spot, and for all that to just be kind of taken away, it put me back in that dark spot again. So I stopped playing. I stopped playing for almost that whole entire summer until Hogel asked me to do this concert. I guess before that, I saw this guy doing a jazz bassoon piece. He was doing Giant Steps, by Coltrane. He was playing Giant Steps on bassoon, and I was like, wow, that's insane. And I was like, you know what? I need to play music again, not just for an audition, but for myself. I think that's what I lost. I got very lost in trying to make something perfect for an audition. That I lost why I started music in the first place. And just a love for music. Just the sake of making music. So I figured, why not? I'll tackle something completely, off what I normally do. And it turned out to be a great experience for me, and it changed my outlook on what music means to me. But yeah, there was just this huge dark patch in between that time, and now I still kind of go in and out of that. Also I ended up working a part-time job that, for the most part, it was not music, and I didn't want to be a part of. I was doing what we all had to do. We did what we had to do to survive in today's time. But that started taking away just a lot of my time from, wanting to practice and wanting to do more. I would wake up and just be like, oh, I gotta go to work. And then I would get home and just be like, oh, I'm finally home from work. So there was just this cycle repeatedly. And then there was just small moments, like out of nowhere, that got me back into playing again. And this is where Hogel came in and asked me to play in the beginning of the year for those Tuesday concerts in the fall with CIM. And I was like, yeah, that's something I need. I have something to look forward to. I can practice. I can do that. And it was going well. And then all of a sudden, Battle Creek asked me to play with them, and things just started happening slowly. So then I started putting out more videos. I was like, okay, now I'm gonna post something else because I have this energy again. I have to keep the momentum going. But really, it's just seeing that job field taken away from me just really hurt. Music is something I've always done. It's something I always wanted to do. So for it to be stripped, I was just lost. And then I guess something I didn't mention before was I started learning software engineering on the side. I was I need something with security, and I need something with security now, and this is something I could sit home and just kind of learn on my own. So that's what I did. The whole summer I studied, and then as the year went along and I started performing more, I kind of backed away and just been studying just on and off at this point. But I still have that in my mind. It's I should probably look into this, just because I don't know what's going to happen. On the bright side, things are looking up a lot better. I've seen orchestras already jump back in. I've seen chamber groups performing, and I've been a part of those, and I feel very fortunate now with that.
It's definitely a journey you've been on, and like you said, you've picked up some new skills as software engineering, and you've also taken to making some videos of playing with yourself. For example, bassoon quintet. So maybe you could tell us a little bit how you make those videos and how it's allowed you to play some new music.
Yeah. I mean, just generally, I've always loved chamber ensemble, whether that be duets, trios, quartets, quintets. I've always loved chamber ensemble. And like in my mind, I always have a certain image when it comes, or like when I hear things, I always want to do it. Like if I'm playing with different people, it's like I have this certain thing in my head that I want to hear. So this kind of gives me gives me that, right. I get to record everything on my own and just like really kind of bring out these colors that I'm kind of seeing when I hear these things. So I just randomly downloaded this app, which a lot of people use, Acapella. And it's very hard to time on that one. So, but I would try to line things up, kind of memorize as much as I can of the music as possible to just kind of play them quickly and learn them quickly. And then I ended up just buying a whole bunch of software on my computer and started learning how to really put them together and at least get better audio and visual quality. But I love working on this chamber music, honestly, and I love the kind of process of going through it.
And tell me a little bit more about this process, especially how you, for example, maybe phrase as an ensemble when you're not really playing in real time with yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I do it a really long way, actually. It's going to sound really weird, but I actually chop it up in bits and pieces first and start from the beginning, and I play it a whole bunch of different ways with what I want to hear. So I might play a line like 30 times with different types of crescendos, and I try to line it up with different parts and kind of see, okay, that's where, like, the intensity I need, like, that's where I need to be. And I'll record phrase by phrase like that, so I have a good general idea, and then I'll mark it in my music and try to be, like, pretty, like, much more specific than I would in like a normal world, because I have to really time it together and really line it up with these recordings. So I'll be pretty specific with things like that, but I always have to play what I want to eventually do first, and then I have that track in my ear as I do the final. So now I'm listening to how it should sound like in the end. Should.
Sounds like you're a little bit obsessive when it comes to this phrasing.
I am. I like phrasing.
But that can come in handy. For example, you've taken a number of orchestral auditions, and that takes a ton of preparation. So maybe briefly you could tell us a little bit how you do that as well.
Oh, I hate myself for forgetting the name, but there was this book I read that another colleague while I was at CIM told us about this book, and then I ended up ordering it and then reading it, called 5 Weeks to Finals, I believe, and it was by the flute player, the principal flute player currently in Detroit Symphony. And then I just bounced my ideas off of hers. But essentially, those last 2 weeks, kind of what I always plan on first is I want to have 2 weeks buffering before the actual audition. Like, I know I want to be completely ready 2 weeks before the audition. I don't want to be stressing out those last 2 weeks. I just kind of want to take it easy. Just do small runs, of things at that point. I want to be ready. And then prior to that, I want to have at least 4 to 5 weeks. If I get 4 to 5 weeks to work on it, then I'll be satisfied. But then I have to really just make sure I'm grinding every day. So then at that point, I look at the list, depending on what the list is, and I'll make another list from there. I'll write down all the things I'm very comfortable with. I'll write down things I've played before but might need to do a lot of work or more work on, and then I'll write the things that are just challenging. Things I don't know as well, things that are going to take me much more time. And then this was an idea I got from the book, as well as Steez. My teacher, Barrick Steez, told me about this as well. And then they end up putting him in a hat and then, like, pulling him out that way. I haven't done all that yet, but I do just kind of pick through the list, and I work at a couple at a time. And I'll do it for, like, 3 days. I'm going to work on these excerpts. These 3 days, I'm going to work on these 3. But I'll stick within those lists first and make sure I'm, like, really getting slow, detailed practice in, not just playing the excerpts, but, like, if these are the hardest excerpts, like, I need to start from, like, the beginning and start from, like, just the foundation of what these are. So that might involve listening, like going back and going to those the orchestra pieces, listening to what what the bassoon phrase kind of sounds like with everything else, so that there's more studying as well as just, the technical aspect of it. And I'll listen to a bunch of different orchestras and saying that, I want to hear, like, different interpretations all around the board.
So we've talked about sort of this motivating factor of taking auditions, having this process to sort of guide you with something to do. I'd like to talk about a point where we sort of transition into mental health in this pandemic and how you have coped with that.
Man, it was hard. I'll say that. I've made a lot of posts and, like, shown the exciting parts of things that I'm doing, but in the background, it's just been really hard. Like I mentioned earlier, like, in my mindset, is like the one thing I wanted to do, the only thing I thought I could do at the time was music, was stripped away, So it was just kind of like panic mode on what do I do. I was on unemployment for a while, and yes, that was nice. It was money coming in weekly, like, but that really hurt. Like, I couldn't do anything I loved once again. And then I heard about UPS opening, and the people there are great. You know, they've been a great help, and like they really worked with me as a musician as well, which was nice. But man, just I am that's not for me. Working in retail and just like dealing with a lot of retail issues, and I felt like, and this is just something about me, is like I'm not always good at pulling away from something when I really should, and just to like do what I need to do. And what was happening there is I got sucked in, just like I was making money, and that's all I had to think about was just like I need to make money right now. It was a real struggle. I wasn't getting the gigs, and I was getting paid part-time work. I had to work as much as I could, just to do what I could do, which obviously took a huge toll on me. I stopped practicing again, like after a certain streak, and in January I was and oh my gosh, and I put my girlfriend through so much of this too, and she was convincing me for the long time. She's like, you have to quit, I have to quit, like I'll find out what to do later. And I'm just like, I was getting in myself and getting in my head, it's like I need to work though, but I'm losing everything I love. I stopped playing bassoon, I wasn't studying anymore, I was losing everything I loved just to survive. And then eventually she got me to realize like there's some sacrifices you just have to make for yourself, and like you'll figure it out afterwards, but right now like you have to be in a better mental spot. So I finally pulled out of that in January, and things automatically got better. In a weird way, things like the one thing, if I could preach this to anybody, you should never be working more than what you're getting paid for one. And like you shouldn't be like forcing yourself to stay there when there's something else that you should be doing, like especially if it's like your passion. Like don't work somewhere where your mental health is just constantly going down, just to make money, because like that's what was happening to me, and I was getting in a super dark place. But I got out, immediate weight lifted once I said those words, that I just like I gotta go. And then all of a sudden I started getting more gigs randomly, and then I got a new job. Hogo called me up again, and like just asked how I was doing, and I told him like, well, I just quit. Like I need to practice, and like I was losing my focus, and then he's like, okay, if you need money, I have I have an option for you. And then he hooked me up with a job, which I work in the alumni office as an intern over there, and it's been great. It's remote, so I get to stay home, I get to practice, I get to study, I get to do everything. Just like it just is so much more freeing, and like and they pay well, so that's still I feel much more comfortable in general, and I get to bring back the things that I loved again. That just happened recently. That was just within the past couple months. So like it's now things are turning around. I'm in a much stronger spot, and honestly, it's like it really does come down to just like my girlfriend was just pushing me the whole time. Like if it wasn't for her, like I really just would have been in a much I would have kept sinking. I would have kept falling. But she was being the good angel on my shoulder, like really just telling me like what I. Not what I need to do, but like what I need to think about, at least, as I'm progressing. Like she wasn't trying to like force any answers down my throat, but she was really just pointing out these truths and wanted me to see clearly. And it took me a while, but it happened finally, and I feel so much better about it.
Well, I want to thank you so much for being with us and sharing your story, not just the highlights, but the real honest truth, and that means a lot that you can share that with us. I want to thank you for being with us today.
Yeah, of course, dude. Thank you for having me again. I appreciate this.
And I also can't help to notice you've got your reeds and your bassoon behind you. So anyway, you could play a few notes.
Can I play a few notes? Oh man, okay. For you, this is going to be Frances Divertissement Trio, Wind Trio. There we go.
Thanks for joining us on today's episode of Classically Minded. If you enjoyed today's episode and would like to learn more, please visit classicallyminded.org or follow us on social media on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you next time.